So we are gathered here this evening. Some of us are departing, where some of us already left because I can't find Knox. But it's been crazy 2 days. We got 1 day left for some people. It's time to talk about what we've seen. Yeah. You've seen the video about all of our anticipation. We've had the opportunity to walk the floor, play games, swap contacts. Let me ask. Let's talk moments first, and then we'll get into the games. Anyone have a favorite moment so far of PAX? It could be either on the floor or at a party or whatnot. Favorite moments?
Honestly, without trying to sound like super cheesy and everything else, Thursday night. Getting us all in here, doing that podcast, just getting a chance to really talk with all of you. That's been one of the best things that's happened so far.
Yeah, sure.
I'll go with somebody else first.
Anyone?
I would say watching Easy Rock Slide mouth towards the Miss Jackson.
You were kind of surprised I actually
She's
knew
over
the
there
lyrics.
just going on. I'm like,
And then just falling all over himself when it came to that T team to the B team. Did you do that part?
Yeah.
Everybody gets wrong.
Right.
that's when you start drinking again. Oh yeah, I'm thinking on But no, I mean just my moments of meeting Blue after 6 years, getting to meet Sam. He's been writing for one side or another for longer than I've been podcasting. Getting to meet the Pastor Knox. And Bobby Brown reincarnated over there. Finding out how talented Meef really is last night. What?
What?
I don't know. Hey, he got a free room and never mind.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Hey, what happens at PAX?
It's recorded and broadcast.
For me, it is those meeting the folks that you've been hearing, exchanging ideas with, being inspired by their passion. A lot of that happened in this room Thursday night. Being able to, at each PAX for our writers, for the Merry Gamers writers, I like, if I'm attending, I like to throw them a party or a dinner. And I'm ecstatic to do that. And one thing that's amazed me, that was a great conversation, sitting down with the staff, finding out what they're up to, having some great San Antonio barbecue. The food here, I've been to so many PAXs, but for the food alone, this is my favorite because, the barbecue we went to Montiera.
Yeah, Michela. Yes.
It was like we had died and got in Mexican heaven.
Good.
And it was freaking, which is the edited version, fantastic. And so, and then tonight we hope to go to another place that I went to as a kid. And so being able to go back there now as an adult. So the food's been great. This is the cheapest PAX I've been able to go to. Although, being able to afford a room like this for under $1,000 is just incredible. But and sharing these experiences, it's just been wonderful. And on top of that, games, and we're going to talk about games too. If anyone else has any memories to share?
I do. Playing Super Mario Brothers for the first time since I was a child. I realize now that I suck at that game. I was a kid, I was all about it. I was doing all kinds of tricks and flips and stomping on turtles and do this with your back. And as an adult, I'm just like, oh, I'm dead.
Yeah, the reflexes, man. I know because Rufus got stuck playing Splatterhouse. It was the one right behind the other retro television. And like playing those retro games, you get into the whole tutorials of the brand new stuff and everything. But going back, there was no tutorial, there was no saves.
You had the booklet.
Yeah,
the booklet
exactly.
told you everything.
Yeah. But even then, it didn't tell you everything because you had to kind of figure certain stuff
Yeah,
out.
but we gave you a starting off point.
I was playing Jet Grind Radio. And
Oh, yeah.
remembering, as much as I love the Dreamcast, remembering how bad the Dreamcast controller was.
How
dare you,
I
sir.
like the Dreamcast.
I love the Dreamcast. It's my favorite
The
console.
controller's
I like the controller, man.
That was horrible.
That Dreamcast controller is what the Xbox 360 controller kind of adapted from, like directly. Like, I mean,
made it
you can even
better.
look at it.
Fortunately, they
drastically
improved
improved upon it. Everything was horrible. It was awkward.
Hey, VMUs for the win, okay?
Yeah, for sure. And we're going back to that PS Vita and you know,
Yeah.
all this stuff is going back to the Dreamcast.
So going once, going twice.
I just want to say, like, the watching indie developers and then noticing how younger and younger they are, like guys in college or you know,
Right.
senior in high school. Here's this thing I created. Like, there's not many art forms or entertainment where people can do that and showcase it to thousands of people, and you know, people come away going, "Wow, that was really fun," or "I, you know, impacted me in some way." That's awesome. Like, just as a culture, like just young people making things is just really cool. So.
And not only that, but also receiving feedback
Yeah.
from their literal peer group. I mean, no longer is it the 45-year-old guy making games hoping that the kids will like it. Now it's the guy who used to be a kid who's making this product saying, "I hope you guys do like it."
And on Thursday night or Friday night, everyone was talking about this game Faded, and I knew the guys because they were really young, and I took note of it. So I went back today and I was like, "Hey man, everyone when I was doing this podcast, everyone talked about how awesome your game was," and he was like, you know, he's probably like 20. He's
22.
Yeah. So he's like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Wow, man, that's awesome." Like,
Wait
you
till I
know-
tell mom.
Yeah. You know, exactly.
She's picking me up.
I can get out of my
What's really cool about this too, and Lefty, I know you've been to E3, so you can probably feel the same. There's a real difference coming to something like this, where you're actually dealing with the developers face to face, and a lot of people, you get their passion, as opposed to sometimes dealing with PR and stuff like that at a larger convention.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So games, video games, tabletop games. This was a very unique, in a lot of ways, PAX. No big Ubisoft booths, no big, you know.
Yeah.
When you have the biggest booth, you know, besides Twitch, be this company I've never heard of until, you know, with a game called Gigantic. You just know it's a different type of event. So let's go around. You know, why don't we start? What was your favorite game?
Gigantic by far. Yeah.
You're just saying that because we won.
Yeah. And not only just one. I was like way up there.
Hey, every little step he takes gets him closer to
People get there.
Yeah, I liked Gigantic, and then I was able to get hands-on with the Adventures of Pip. That was a good indie game. Also was able to play Afro Samurai 2. That game was pretty good. I think. Oh yeah, and then also was able to try out the new Nintendo 3DS that's going to be coming out next month. That was also good with Zelda and the Super Smash Bros. So that was really good.
Nice.
They got Project Steam. They were showcasing too.
Codenames team.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Beef?
I liked the games that we were able to all step up and grab a controller and play cooperatively or competitively. So I mean, we did Hive Jump, Brawlhalla, and what's the one that's like soccer crossed with basketball?
Oh yeah, super or like touchdown, slam dunk,
Basketball the game.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And it was just really cool, like, you know, everybody stepping up and going at it. And, you know, like with Brawlhalla, it's kind of like a Super Smash Brothers-y beat 'em up, and everybody's like, you know, which one's me? Coming at me, bro, all that. So I'd probably say the ones that we all got to play at the same time.
Nice. Waxlight?
Yeah, had a few. Hive Jump as well. I mean, I actually backed them on Kickstarter, so I've been really excited, and I have not been disappointed. It's a lot of fun, very, very frantic, very much, you know. And when they were telling us some of the things they are going to bring to it, there are a couple of things we pointed out, like it's really easy to lose yourself. Yeah, we're actually adding some things to make that a little bit easier. Or, you know, the backpack drops and you can't see it. Well, yeah, we're going to make it so that stands out more. because you actually spawn off of a backpack, and one person has to be carrying it. If he's not, the aliens start destroying it. If they destroy it, you don't respawn. It's a lot of fun like that. But there's two that kind of really, I did like Gigantic, we'll play that, but two that really stood out to me that are kind of unique. There's this card game called Noah Blitz. That it's a collectible card game. It's on Kickstarter right now, but one of the biggest problems with most of these collectible card games, even something like Hearthstone, which speeds it up better than a lot of them do, is the amount of time it takes to play a game. You can spend 15, 20 minutes in a Hearthstone game. You get in Magic the Gathering, you can spend an hour or more in just one game. This one speeds that up because you play simultaneously. You have a very short time period, and you're playing your cards at the same time your opponent is, and then the combat goes back and forth, one at a time, but it literally just alternates, and you've got a very short combat timer, so it's not like you can sit there and try to be extremely strategic or methodical. You have to move. And so this is a game, instead of a game taking 15, 20, 30, an hour, they tend to take about 5 minutes, which makes it a lot better for pick up and play. It's going to be completely cross-platform with iOS, Android, and PC, so really liking that. The other one's this little company, and I can't remember the company's name off the top of my head. Based out of Boulder, Colorado. They had 3 games that they were showcasing. I jumped on this game that had just opened up called Kingsburg. Platformer. I'm not generally a platformer fan. This thing's really unique. You're very minimalistic design. You can wall jump. You can glide. I was playing with a 360 controller, so you hit the left button, your left bumper, you glide. But then if you hit the right stick, you can bring in wind and use in combination with the glide, you can use that to change the trajectory of where you're going. And then you're just rescuing these different birds, and the more of them you rescue, the better you can glide in that. At one point in the level, I got to where I maxed out the number of birds, and I was practically flying using the wind of the glide mechanic.
What's it called again?
It's called Kingsburg. And I was really surprised by that one because most of the time platformers don't grab me.
What about you, William?
I gotta say Gigantic, just because from hearing everyone's opinions on it, I mean, it seems like they had the same view as me, that they were able to find a character they liked really easily and be able to help support our team. Rufus had the most kills, Larry was sniping, you were healing, I was giving assists.
I was brawling. I was meleeing. I thought everybody on the screen was Ace Black. I was cutting everybody down, dog.
Yeah, but
Pop-Tarts flying everywhere.
Everywhere. Pop-Tarts, jelly, icing.
It was great. We were all able to do what we could, and work as a team. And unfortunately, we couldn't talk and coordinate a lot because we had the developers telling us about the game and walking us through it as we were playing. But if we get in the alpha, they said we could just hit them up, and I'd love to have a game night.
Yeah.
And actually coordinate and play it.
And I imagine they want to get this game on Twitch and people seeing
absolutely.
it and just
I will
spreading the
stream
word.
that.
It looks beautiful. It plays well. I mean, it's something that had any of us heard anything about this company?
I haven't. I hadn't.
No.
Yeah, and I'm not a mouse and keyboard guy.
Well,
I was fumbling a little bit, but it.
This is a fairly new company and the people, the various developers and stuff came from other good games, and it's well thought out, and it's gonna be free to play, and it feels like they want to be a favorite game of esport type folks, and I can see it. It's almost like written in its code. So.
And they seem to truly love the game. That's
They're
the thing.
passionate
They're
about it,
very
yeah.
passionate about it, and you don't see that. You see that with a lot. You see that with some, but not a lot.
Yeah.
So it looks amazing. I love it.
Chris.
There were 2 for me. Faded, which we already mentioned.
All right, you only get one. So,
Bogus.
Go ahead.
Faded, and then Breach and Clear, because in both instances I got a chance to talk to the developers, and it's completely different when you get to see their side of it. You get to see their passion, what made them create it, where the inspiration came from, the backstory of the game, all that kind of stuff, the development cycle. Breach and Clear is a top-down strategy shooter. And, it's another zombie game. It's a strategy game. And normally I would look at it and go, I don't know if this is for me. But getting that opportunity to talk to the developer, I was there for like, what, half an hour?
It
He
was
kept
more
trying
than-
to
it
pull
was
me
more
away.
than half
Like,
an hour.
dude, come on, we gotta go. But I had a great time talking to him and hearing more about the game, and he was walking me through the controls. And once I saw the way it was controlled, it's
Just like
kinda
XCOM. That's why you like it.
well, it is.
That's why
but
you
it's
like it.
actually, you know what it makes me think of? The original Rainbow Six, when you got to go
Yeah.
with the plans,
No.
and you could make the plans and then let them. But it's more dynamic because not only do you get to plan out all the actions, but then you get to start it in real time and adapt on the fly, or pause it in any time
Right.
and change on the fly. There's all different ways you can
So,
play it.
so that tactical overhead time manipulation that you saw is the exact same time manipulation that's in Dragon Age Inquisition. I actually interviewed that guy,
okay.
and so if you like that, if you haven't played Dragon Age Inquisition, you need to go do that like right now.
I need to finish
Yeah.
Origins
What's
first.
Somehow everything goes back to Dragon Age.
It always does.
6 degrees of Dragon Age.
That's it.
So I'm up to the plate. The absolute most fun I've had at one of the booths, and I will say it is also on Kickstarter. There's a lot of games on Kickstarter, which
Yes.
worries me because some of your favorite games may not get made.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but this game I certainly hope. You know, they just started it the day of PAX. They're already at
There's
30%.
a few people that said that.
I know what
We
you-
just launched it today.
Yeah, but they're at 30% now, so I'm hopeful it gets made because this game is going to be the next Cards Against Humanity. It's called Bring Your Own Book,
Yeah.
and what's fascinating is it can be a game that is totally changed by the people you play with. You know, so you have this deck of cards, and when you pick up the cards, it has like two options that the player can read. Like for instance, a line in a country song, and everyone brings a book to the table, and they have to take the book that they brought and sort of find quickly a line that they could use in that book that might address that. First person, you know, there's different modes, and we played the classic mode. And the first person who gets the line says, "I've got it," and the person who drew the card has to turn over a timer. Then everyone else has to find a line in that time. If you don't find a line in that time, you grab the first line of text that your eyes see, and that's your answer. And then, so in this classic mode, everyone reads their answer, and the person who drew the card has to decide what answer he liked best, or he or she liked best. And it goes that way until anyone on the table gets 3 cards. You get 3 cards, you have to rotate books. So now everyone has a different book to work with. And what's really cool about this is you could say, if you're planning to have this party using this game, you could say, you know what, tonight, everyone bring over Harry Potter books. Or everyone bring over a science fiction book. And you had to play with those same cards, you know, and so you can have these themes. I said, you know, maybe Dr. Seuss, you know, and so the game changes but based on these books you have at your house or you go out and buy or whatnot. So I found that extremely interesting, and it's hilarious. And you know, Cards Against Humanity, one of the knocks about it is, you know, it's downright vulgar.
Yeah.
So you know, this game could be played clean, or you could play vulgar depending on what books you bring.
Bring some of those romance novels in, and all of a sudden we're right back.
Or have some of the cyberpunk stuff.
You know, so I was amazed by this in
Big
its
Daniel Steele
simplicity.
fan, Jason?
I don't even know who that is, but I'm glad you do.
So that was absolutely my favorite game. I saw a lot of great video games, but the most fun I had this weekend so far was playing that game. Knox.
I got basically 3. My first was not really a video game, but it's just more like a concept. I guess a walkthrough video was the Oculus Rift. I'm still not a believer, in VR. The whole thing. I think that with 2 kids running around that's under the age of 8, I can't really dissociate myself from life.
Duct tape, fix
But
it.
right, exactly. But they had this demo where it was kind of like a walk on Mars or walk on the moon or whatever, and it was pretty cool because you really, you literally get lost in the world of Oculus Rift. I mean, when you look up, you can see the atmosphere. When you look down, it's so just so immersive. I mean, and that's equally scary but equally cool. The next game I played was a small indie title. I think it was on the corner back end. It's called Just Sound and Shapes. And
I saw that one.
yeah.
I haven't had a chance to try it.
Yeah, it's just it's a puzzle, like the title says. It's just sound and shapes. But in the midst of that, they have sort of like a I won't say mathematical, but it's like you have to fit certain shapes in certain areas, kind of like a Geometry Wars meets just zany, crazy explosion asteroid type gameplay. So that was pretty cool. I'm not real, big into like those type of titles, but if it's something that they put on Unity, it is developed on Unity, so if they bring it to mobile, it's something that I can get in really, really quick, have fun with it, or put on the console, let my kids grab the controller, just have a blast with it. And then the last one was State of Decay. I didn't play it when it came out for 360. I totally skipped it because people were saying that like Blue, he said, it was a lot of jank to it. It was a lot of issues they had going on.
Don't go by what he says. He likes Dragon Age.
Right. But it's a pretty cool concept. I wish they would have added co-op to the next gen version. And we were kind of prodding them, and
they know, they keep hearing.
Right, exactly. So
yeah,
so they kept being vague about it. So it may be a patch in the works, or it may just be a whole other game.
Wasn't that the focus of one of the DLCs, or am I mistaken?
Yeah, originally they were gonna put co-op into it.
I think they're gonna save it for State of Decay 2.
I think that's exactly what they do, because I was the second interview of the weekend, and I was already prodding about it. He goes, I'm gonna hear a lot about this. He said, but we can't really talk about the next game or the DLC or a possible MMO. And, like, all these things I kept trying to push him, and he kept being like, well, let's just say I can't talk about it, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I think that's exactly what they're doing. It's going to create that too.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. I just had a blast with just the community and the technology, really.
Yeah. So. Colby.
To go right off what Knox was saying about VR, I did Oculus for the first time with Elite Dangerous a couple hours ago. And it's the real deal. Like it was really, really immersive and kind of scary. I get motion sickness. So at first, when you first start playing it, they had the joysticks, the headphones, and the Rift, and you're like, okay, this is really jarring. And then once the time you start going, you start
you're there.
When you stop forgetting that there's a screen on you, it is insane. It is. I think anybody who likes games needs to try an Oculus Rift. The game got me afterwards. I had to run to the bathroom and do the hurl. I had motion sickness, and but even then, I was like, man, I want this. This may not be like an every night thing, but it might be like on a Friday night, a glass of whiskey and just ride around space.
Calm
your nerves a little.
Yeah.
That could have been an older build because the newer SDKs have eye tracking that's supposed to help. Get rid of that motion sickness.
Yeah, you look down, I saw my hands, like the in-game hands and like my chest. I was like, oh man.
I have free hands.
And started unzipping.
Yeah. But it's there's the pitch and the off of the ship, and there's like the guy I was supposed to chase was going up this way, and I put on the brakes and I went up and I just shot forward, and I felt my whole body like look up and see on top of the ceiling of the cockpit, and it was like I was catching myself like. Everyone is in line for like 2 hours watching this game, and they're watching my body just like do this while trying to play a game, and I'm just like, oh man. Besides that, a lot of great indie games. I played pretty much. I played a lot today. I played about like 9 or 10 games. Just walked up, let me play. Boyd was on the Tiny Build big booth right next to Gigantic, and RTSs scare me. They make me stressful. Boyd is an RTS that is the opposite. That is the most relaxing game I've ever played, and it is micromanagement and stuff like that. But it was really soothing. So that was kind of a big surprise for me because they had their big games like Speedrunners and a bunch of other games, and Boyd was just in his little corner. No one's really playing it. So then I just went and sat down and played it. It was really good. So.
Cool. Videos.
Well, one of the games that really it's really the developer that stuck out to me was Pax Nora.
Yeah.
And the game itself was fun. It's turn based. it's almost like if you took Warcraft 2, like or StarCraft type game, and combine it with chess, which is the only way I can really explain it. It's very, I mean, I've never played a game like it before, but it's turn-based, and you're placing characters, and you're using weapons, but it's kind of in like a chess format. But it wasn't the game that really, and the game was good, but he was a pleasure to talk to. He started this game in his garage. He got involved with a company for a while. He finally got the game back. He's had it out there for 9 years, and actually PAX was the one that got them going. Nobody would talk to him. They talked to the Penny Arcade people. They loved the game, and that's how he actually got up and running. So, but I was over there for about 40 minutes talking to him. I felt like I was recording a podcast. Great guy, and I know they're launching a new space game. He says they're in really early development, a lot of choices to be made, so they didn't even really want to talk about what they're doing because that could change tomorrow. But something I'm really keeping a close eye on to see what that, because this game, he invented it in 2003. It got released originally in 2006, and he's been supporting it all up to now. They have a new expansion, the original game, but now this new game's coming out. It's going to have obviously a lot more technology in that. So that was one game, and since everyone else is doing multiple. You mentioned Cards Against Humanity, and the people that put that game out, they sent me a thing and they said, I want to come down and interview. And I'm like, yeah, I really do. I want to find out how they feel about their game. I know there's been a little backlash from some people. I'm not exactly as excited about the less than mature kind of quality of the game. And I went over and I checked the booth out early, and they had a game called Poop. Another game had an expletive on there, and it was done with symbols. And I'm like, okay, is this like the theme of this company? Like, that's just kind of, and but then I started talking to him, and I found out the company doesn't make these games. The company is just a platform to help people that have an invention and no outlet to create a game. And so they found Cards Against Humanity on Kickstarter, and they ended up pulling them in, funding them. I think they're actually moving on away from that company, doing their own thing now. But this guy that created the Poop game, it's silly, it's juvenile, but it's funny. And he's there at the booth, just like a lot of the inventors. What they do is they'll help them get funded, help them get a demo put together. They'll take them out to the shows, let them demo their own game at their area, and you get that one-on-one passion from these guys that create these games. And the guy he's in love with the game. He wraps it in toilet paper, he puts it in a bag with a poop sticker, and that's how, when you buy it, that's how they give it to you. I mean, they fully embrace the poop. There's like fart cards. You try not to, if the toilet overflows, that's a bad thing. You don't want to clog the toilet. He's got all these, and I started talking about all these other ideas because, we're all 12-year-old boys somewhere deep down inside. So I had a ton of poop jokes, and he has heard just about every poop joke there is being out there. But all these different ways to use I was saying, because his expansion was green poop, the green deck. And so you should have a sequel called Diarrhea, and we were just going on and on with all the jokes, but it was just fun to meet these guys and their passion and realize this company's just giving them an outlet, and it's like, how cool is that exists? And then now they're here, and I get to kind of, so I went in kind of a little bit skewed on one end, and it came on all the way to the other side, and kind of my eyes open, so it was fun.
Samuel.
I didn't get to play it, but I saw the tournament for speedrunners. They had a little tournament, and it looked really good, and it seemed exciting. Like when you're playing with other people and you're trying to, to win. Like I saw one guy had been leaning for a long time. A guy came up behind him and just clawed him back, and everyone in the little group was just like, "Oh, it was really exciting." I can't wait to play it. I think it's out already, isn't it?
Well, one of our own beat a joystick.
I was asking boy, they double booked me with the joystick reporter, and he sits down and we start playing. And I whomped him at this game, and it was kind of like, that's what they said. So I was like, all right. I played speedrunners. I played the devs and two public people. And speedrunners is like Mario Kart, but just a platformer. You pick up items, you're running and stuff. It's really quick, and it has that emotional response.
There's like bits of different games. Like there's some Bionic Commando.
Yeah, you have the grapple and stuff. It's just speed running. That's all it is. It's just with 4 other people, and it can
You
get
go in with 4 friends and you come out with like 1 or 2.
So as the game progresses, you can keep going. The screen starts like the TVs will start going down until you only see a little part. So that way it doesn't, because eventually you start memorizing the map, right? So it'll be like this little box and it's 2 bodies just running for it, and they're just trying their hardest not to like hit an obstacle or anything. It gets sweaty palms. Yeah.
Larry, what about you, man?
Saw a couple things. First one of which, it got a lot of praise, but I was really happy I got to see the Adventures of Pip. That's really awesome. If you don't know, starts as a 1 pixel character in the 32-bit world, but he evolves over time, and as he evolves, he increases in resolution. But not only does he increase in resolution, the stages in which he plays increases in resolution. It's a puzzle game, so his 1 pixel, he's a block, kind of like Super Meat Boy, where he starts off at. But there are puzzles where you actually have to shift your forms and devolve to get through particular areas. So it's a puzzler and a platformer, and it's pretty much the Wreck-It Ralph of video games because it's all self-referential to like different gaming tropes throughout our time. So like the people who are middle-aged and playing like we are, like 34, 35-year-olds playing those games. Like I remember what that stage looked like. This reminds me of Final Fantasy IV or what, and it's just things like that. And that game looks awesome. So if you hadn't seen it, check it out.
I had mentioned to Sharif, the CEO, that like it's almost like back in Mario 1 where you go from like Big Mario to Little Mario, only now you're doing it intentionally so that you can get through this little hole.
It's really sweet, man. It's really awesome. They have a lot of hidden things. That was good. Second thing, I did enjoy Gigantic. That was fun, even though it was WASD. It was done well, and it was sweet. I was able to just cut people up, man. It was fun.
Well, it seems like we were talking about this. It seems like it's not like there's an overwhelming number of controls, so it seems like they could put controller support into it.
Yes.
I asked them about that as someone who it's hard for my fingers to work, and they said that since they did it in Unity, it would make sense that a controller option may come.
No, Unreal 3. They said
Unreal 3.
It's Unreal 3.
Yeah, not
Unity.
Unity.
Already implemented.
That's Unreal 3? That looked really sharp for Unreal 3.
So if they don't provide it, it's obviously what was the third-party controller?
X-Patter.
Would have it.
Yeah, the problem you run into with X-Patter anytime you're doing something like that is you're at such a disadvantage on the right stick for aiming because you don't have aim assist.
Yeah, and so I enjoyed that. And one thing I wanted to check out that I really enjoyed that I was looking forward to is Rebel Galaxy. It's really sweet. Space simulators with Fighter. Guys that worked on Runic. It used to be a Runic game, so they worked on Torchlight 2. They took that engine, they licensed that engine, but it's not just that. It actually has a full-on story with great animation, great characters, great voice acting, funny writing. That is what's interesting, and it's just a studio of like 2 people, and that is what's really impressive. So for me, those are really my 3 that just kind of stand out. I mean, I saw a lot of other things and played with a lot of other things, but to me, those were the things that really stand out. Yeah.
So as winding down, PAX South. Okay, so we got PAX Prime, PAX East, PAX South, PAX Australia. We got other conventions, Dragon Con, E3, QuakeCon. There's just so many stuff. But PAX South, was it, in your guys' eyes, was it successful? And then secondly, is it something that you want to do again?
Can I go since I'm the version here?
Yeah.
You're not the only version, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I would say it was overwhelming as far as the community aspect. It was overwhelming as far as looking into brand new things in technology. But it was a bit underwhelming not to see, like you said earlier, a lot of the big people come. But that's probably mostly because it's the first year and they want to see if what the crowd is like.
Well, it's also January and
Time of year.
and developer or publishers are going, well, we know we're going to do something on PAX East.
Right, and GDC.
And GDC
Yeah.
and E3 and San Diego Comic-Con. budgets.
Yeah.
How do you budget to go to all these things throughout the year?
And also, it's also crunch time to get a lot of big titles out before the first quarter ends.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But I mean, as far as just the overall presentation, the security, the you know, I mean, all that stuff was top notch to me. I mean, they made me feel comfortable. Nothing was obtrusive. Like, it was pretty much. I mean, you could get around pretty easily. The areas or the spaces for all the panels were pretty cordial. You know, it was kind of the, you know, come in, hey, come on, you know, come look at this, or come take a look at this, or go check this out if you like this. So everybody was really helpful. So as far as an overall like presentation and you know, the event rating, I mean, I probably would, you know, say, I mean, it was very, very good. It was great. It was great.
Yeah, I would say on that, I'm used to Comic-Con. So we talk about no bottlenecks, it's for crowds,
Yeah, exactly.
and just easy to get into places. That's not Comic-Con at all. But here, that's one thing that was really nice. It was just, everything was open, there was extra space. Obviously all the tables set up in the back, but even just like the hallway walking in, it was just very comfortable to walk around. That is a huge, huge thing. And the smell wasn't as bad. I think it's because the people weren't so concentrated.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a couple of whiffs of some BO.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not saying I didn't smell anything bad at all, but
I was waiting in line to play some game, and then I just got caught a whiff. I'm like, oh.
yeah.
I think, like, not saying like underwhelming, like, you know, not the big titles. I was talking with some developers and saying, like, you know, what do you guys think about it? You know, you guys aren't, you know, there's not a big giant Ubisoft booth or like a giant Evolve monster, you know, is this helpful? You know, and they're like, yeah, you know, we kind of get put on the spotlight. You know, it's kind of cool that, like, it's PAX, but it's like these guys aren't tucked away in a corner. They're right next to, you know, Undead Labs. They're right next to, you know, Logitech or whatnot.
Yeah, at most PAXs, Undead Labs has this tiny little booth, and you know people come by, but they're you know, they may see it when they're in line for EA, or, you know, some EA title or something like that. But here, they were a star. They had a spotlight. They had a huge booth, crowded as all get go.
Moonrise was great too.
Yeah, and
Moonrise.
yeah,
Moonrise was great.
And I will admit, I mean, wholeheartedly that I am now a, you know, sort of more of a believer in PC gaming because of the fact that the big guys weren't here.
Yeah.
So I mean, coming into this, you know, this PAX and having only the ability to look at these smaller titles and PC titles and getting cramps with WASD, you know, it's like, you know, well, I now have kind of broken that barrier, saying, oh, well, it's not as hard as I thought it was, or you know, this would be cool with a controller, or maybe I can take, you know.
Which, by the way, there are alternatives to WASD even for stuff that doesn't use controllers. Some of us use them, so we're more than willing to talk with you about them.
And Chris, you don't get credit for that because I've been working on actually.
I've been saying it for forever.
I've been saying it since Witcher 1. So.
I got these two going. So.
I will say, you know, I've been to all PAXs except for PAX Australia, which someday I will cross off my bucket list. But if I had to make a choice, if my finances were only such I could attend only 2 PAXs per year, absolutely PAX Prime. I think that, you know, it is unique and unto itself. But for me, that leaves PAX East and PAX South. And it's a hard decision because honestly, a lot of the publishers are bringing their A game to PAX East. It's going to be at PAX East. Harmonix will put on a show. It'll be at PAX East. Ubisoft will be out in full force with whatever next Assassin's Creed title that they're going to have, or what have you. But PAX South, I've actually had a great time. You know, I'm going to mention the food, the people that you don't normally get to meet, and just the friendliness of everyone.
Yeah,
you know? It has me thinking it's a toss-up. I really don't know what I do because, on one hand, we run a website and we need to cover stuff, but we're going to have some great coverage out of this. Of many titles that people might not have heard of. That they'll, you know, it may break bad. It's going to be interesting, interesting coverage.
They're gonna get the care and time of an article that you know people usually write about, let's say like Destiny or something, or you know Assassin's Creed or Far Cry. It's like I'm gonna write 1,000 words on a little indie game that like one guy made. You know.
Exactly. And also sort of having that inner bragging rights and saying, man, we covered Gigantic a long time ago. We were in a room, all hot as all get out. We were talking about that 2 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So.
And there's nothing to say that this won't turn into a PAX East where, it becomes that scope in a year or two.
I don't think it will just because it's too January. It's such a hard time.
It's too early in.
But I mean, I hear you. It's a valid point. But people said that about spring releases in video games, and then publishers got understanding. Hey, I can release my game in the spring and still make money, and that means I can have some demo ready for PAX East and still be good once they get the timing.
See, if that was true, there would be a giant statue, and 2K would be here with Evolve and just pounding people.
I mean, 2K has had issues the last 10 months. Let's be real. So, but I'm saying, give developers a little time to get adjusted to this new schedule, and you will start seeing things because BioWare was here because they're right down the road in Austin, and they held panel after panel after panel after panel all day. They ain't the only people in Texas, and they ain't the only people that close.
Gearbox is in Dallas, so.
And there's plenty of room for it to grow without Ubisoft being shoehorned into announcing the next Assassin's Creed early.
Anyway.
EA, any of the big three. Activision isn't going to bring Call of Duty in January and reveal it.
Right.
But there's plenty of room between the developers we talk to and Activision. There's a whole group of, indie, smaller studios, bigger time, smaller studios that could come out if they like what they saw come out of this year.
And I remember a lot of people coming into this were like, well, they're not going to have the indie mega booth. I kept hearing that over and over. They're not going to have the indie mega booth.
Freaking whole competitive floor.
Yeah. Exactly. And that was, I never would have tried, one of the games I talked about, Kingsburg. I never would have tried that if all these other games were here.
Especially if you're waiting 2 hours to play the new Assassin's Creed and the new Call of Duty.
I'm gonna tell you, I ain't waiting 2 hours.
Well, exactly. But still, it's like, I would never have seen it. It's not a matter of I wouldn't have I would never have even seen the game in the midst of everything else. So to get these games that, the overwhelming majority of them, we've never heard of these studios, we've never heard of these games, and we're all walking out talking about ones that most of us that are just blowing us away.
It's Kickstarter con.
It is.
And early access con.
And I will say there are
community con too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like a lot of the people that we ended up talking to, it was everyday gamers standing next to Open Forum Radio, or it was Press A to Listen. And they're like, oh, y'all both podcasters, and I talked to one guy that did, what was the light game? Not Dying Light.
Bishop Games.
Lightfall, thank you. We were talking to him and we were explaining how, we do write some reviews, but a lot of people, they'll just be like, 8 out of 10, okay, maybe I'll pick it up. And they miss all of this, whereas with the medium of podcasting, like we're doing now, we can say like, I liked how it was kind of like, old school StarCraft, or I liked how it was, like this or that, and so they get more substance with it. And I think, as a developer, you'd be like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. So
and that's what this PAX was for me, because we talk about meeting different people. I mean, we went to the mobile streaming panel, and Mandy Perez was kind of moderating that, and she came from GTTR. From our little, circle or whatever. And I saw DCD, he was there, walking the floor, seeing you guys there, experiencing you guys at the party and everything. It's just been a great thing. And then on the flip side of that, it's still community with the gaming aspect. Like, within the confines of our small community, there's a lot of vitriol going on about consoles and everything else, but this is this is community agnostic gaming, and that's what it should be. Like, it didn't matter if I went to a booth and picked up a PC controller or a PS4 controller. No, what matters is that I'm with my friends, I'm enjoying an experience, and the experience is what's being created on in front of the screen, and that's all that matters, and that was great to me.
I will say, in terms of how will next year look, there were people from the other companies walking the floor. I mean, I'm bumped into Aaron Trites from Harmonix, and he said, "Well, I'm here." He told me he was there on an unofficial capacity just to check out the vibe of PAX South. So if he's there, I'm sure others are there as well, just seeing if this is something.
Jeff Gershman, I ran into him too. So
The Giant Bomb was here in Forest.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm just talking, game
You're talking about
publishers.
I heard there were Ubisoft people also kind of behind the scenes checking things out, seeing how.
Yeah.
A lot of Ubisoft love over there.
You can see
No,
the
I'm
suits
just-
walking around.
Yeah.
Only if it's directed at Far.
So
Yeah.
next year, will we see a lot of you at PAX South?
If I can pull it off, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm here. I love it.
Yeah,
Some of them might find it a little tough.
We'll start those spousal conversations.
I'm sure they would love to see San Antonio.
Yeah, okay.
In better
What's
weather.
that left of you?
All right,
Gonna
wait,
babysit
wait.
for me, dude?
Can I just comment on that? I love my wife. I'm not bringing her next year.
But you gotta bring her, man, because my wife wanted to go.
If your wife's coming out, then I will. But I mean, honestly, it's like I felt bad because I'm like, well, I got appointments all day, and then we're going out at night. And she came with us last night, and after a while, she's like, yeah, I'm gonna go back to the hotel. I don't know anything about Mass Effect and why Dragon Age is so great, and what combat
Neither
stuff
do
you're
I.
talking about,
Yeah,
and what gaming agnostic is. And it's just not her. It's not her world. She doesn't live in that world like we do.
Right.
So I'm like,
And there's only so many times she can walk the river walk while she's waiting for you.
yeah. Well, it was so. But the other thing is, it was so cold too. I kind of rooted for
And
her.
then today was beautiful.
Today was
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
today
it
was
was.
nice.
That's why I got to hang out with her today. But yeah.
Well, I guess this collection of an individual's. Well, first, why aren't everyday gamers on OFR? Put you guys on.
Oh, blast!
They have
It's not around
Putting us
anymore.
on the spot. Whoa.
You know,
Lefty, I love
We
that
love
pressure.
you guys.
I love that pressure.
we're kind of
Red
the
Rover, Red
intentional. We're kind of the intentional holdouts, you know.
Pressure bust pipes.
Yeah, it does.
Next year.
That's all I'm saying.
OFR.
I've always told Beef, I've always told them, man, doors always open. They know that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and even if we're not officially part of OFR, we're already family.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with how
Yeah, but you're
everybody's-
like distant cousins.
Hey, isn't it enough that 2 out of the 3 of us are involved with OFR? I mean, come on.
Jobbers and gamers and scripters, so we got 2 or 3. That's the only holdout.
So now we know what the problem is.
They don't bring me on Gamers and Script, and I ain't holding out. I don't get invited.
Well, that's because there was a slight problem with one of the times you were in.
Once Chris starts his Hockey Talk podcast, I'm sure they'll.
He said the door was open. He didn't say it was open for that.
I guess the final word needs to go to Larry. You sum up this weekend. Well, let's close out the podcast.
Simply put, Open Forum Radio's our slogan is what community sounds like, because that's what we focus on. We are all here because we all have common interests, but we're not the same. And the thing that makes a community, what makes a family, and relationships that you love people and accept those differences, right? And also because most of us here all pretty much share the same, religious background. We try to make each other better in everything that we do. We laugh with each other, we cry with each other, we pray for each other. That's just kind of what it is. So, but PAX South was the opportunity for us to come together and bring it all together, make it congeal and solidify those relationships. Because I've listened to Lefty for a long time, listened to Jay's listened to me. Pretty much went around this room, and I said Fadios. I think I know Fadios here longer than anyone. And it's my first time seeing it. So I guess PAX South is more than it's also a foothold for us to elevate ourselves professionally, because we all want to be better. But I think the bonus is that we can do it together and build each other up as well. So that's what I think PAX South 2015 has been. You hear that? Next year.
Right there.
Right here. Be here. But don't be in Lefty's room, and be in San Antonio next year.